organization of any kind here, and it's possible because there's a strong team which does all the work for us. That light, Prashant Kulkarni could not be here with us. Premnath is there. Then the other two guys, Vignesh Bhaskar and Akil Mohammed, are also not here. So we have a small chat window in this workshop for skills speakers. Last slide. So that's the CV of the speaker. She doesn't want it. She wants to be known as a teacher in finance. But that's the CV. So she's the managing director of the Center of Investment for Education and Learning. How many of you know Moneycraft? Please, little bit. She wants to see. So I think you should go see it. Moneycraft.com. It's craft with a K. So that's the site they run, where they have a host of videos, for short videos for investors, where they explain concepts in finance, personal finance. They have two specific certification programs. One is called the Accredited Wealth Planner and the Certified Private Wealth Manager programs. And they also train people for the certifications offered by the National Institute of Securities Market. These are certifications for mutual fund distributors and investment advisors. And just Friday, Umaji had posted that since January 2007, they have trained more than 1 lakh people over 200 locations in the country. So that's all I have to say. The rest of it is there. So whenever you're ready.
The leaders you have to learn about personal finance. The responsibility of the trainer goes up. It has to be worth your while. It needs to be. There has to be a responsible use of your time, which could have been utilized for so many other things. You chose to be here today. Thank you so much for that interest. Keeps people like me going. Yeah. To talk to you, and I'm just wondering whether I can make eye contact with you with the palm. Yes, that's good. Thank you. All right. So what are we going to talk about before we even get going? Are there top questions in your mind that you are keen to get answers to, that you are here on a Sunday morning? I know it's very early for a group of strangers to talk to somebody, particularly in a one-to-many conversation. The typical thinking in the group is, tell us what you've got. Then we will see. But are there any questions that are there in your mind? Is there something that you think you want to ask, you want to learn today? That will give me some cues, right?
How to manage personal finance.
How to manage personal finance? Yes, ma'am. I will try my best to answer that question.
The equities and the lesser known, to me, lesser known fields like equities, it's kind of illogical and a lot of ambiguity. How to bring in as much clarity and as much logic as possible so that.
Okay, that I think Professor Pattabhiraman is best suited to bring the logic into it. And do look at equity as very illogical amount of gains which cannot be made by the common man. Alright? Or it looks like something which is too good to be true. Yeah? So you're wary at some level, or you're wondering whether such increases in prices are really, sustainable. There is a certain worry also in the minds of people. Yeah?
The context is a lot of ambiguity is there. How to approach, that.
Now, how to approach is complex. That will take a 3-year full-time program. If there are people here who want to learn how to invest in equity, right? Everybody else who's giving you tips and tricks are fooling you.
Tactics is there.
I've been in equity since 1985 and I'm still learning.
No, I don't want to.
So there are tactics. I can leave you with some names. Usually that's what happens in an equity class, You teach the equity analysis throughout the day. End of the day, the class does, ek do naam to bataiye, madam. That is what is the thing. I'm glad that he's saying, look, I want to know about it seriously, without asking for tips and tricks, which is a nice thing for me to hear. That look, I want to learn something more about it. It is extremely interesting. Equity analysis is one of the most beautiful hobbies that you can have on the side. Yeah? if you are having a full-time job, being an equity analyst as the second profession, it's extremely rewarding and interesting, but it takes that amount of time. Yeah, and it takes that amount of learning. As I said, 3 years. You should give yourself 3 years, but you will learn in one cycle. You have to lose money to learn. Market is a bad teacher. Exam first, lesson later. Yeah. Any other questions?
Are there any thumb rules to personal finance?
EMI is going to do this to my cash flows, kind of a thing. But as you do it, yes. I mean, most of the things in life, even Herbert Simon very famously pointed out that our rationality is very bounded in a sense that we can make rational decisions only if there are thumb rules, right? Except that we make our own. What works for me may not work for you. Some of them will come up as we talk. Yeah. Any other question? The brevity of the answers are very discouraging. Yeah. Any other question that you want to ask?
One is managing personal finance, and the other is effectively managing personal finance.
Same sir. Same. தமிழா நீங்க செய்யறது சரியா தானே செய்யணும் இல்லையா ஈவன திருத்த செய்யும் so strategic management effective strategic management both are same. All right, for those who are not Tamil speaking, I'm only saying that only
How to beat inflation?
how to beat inflation is simple. Earn a better return. It's fairly simple. Higher income, your income should earn, your return comes from two sources, the human asset and the investment asset. The human asset is much bigger there in beating inflation compared to inflation. The investment is only the next secondary, it's like one side role. The main role hero is you. So do you have a job that earns an income that beats inflation? Do you have a job and a set of skills that will continue to be paid for at a rate which is higher than inflation? Then you're fine. So that is something that's again personal, as we were saying. Yes, sir, you had a question.
Yeah. So I work with a lot of young people. So what I'm looking for from this workshop is to learn from you and see how I can translate this when I teach this to younger people.
Yeah, absolutely. The more they learn, the better it gets. Yeah. So we will try our best. There are young, old, and others in the classroom. We will try and make it relevant to everybody. Anything else? Yes.
I said to the person, what are the things we need to get check or keep in mind while doing that?
Yeah. I do that for a living, sir. So I'm saying that the only thing that matters in investment is asset allocation. Nothing else matters actually. Nothing else matters. And that's a very core and important decision that you make. And my own experience has been that people's asset allocation decisions are misguided at this point in time. So I will spend some time. In the first part, I'll talk about your personal finance framework, and in the second part, I will talk about asset allocation. Yes. All right. Yes, sir.
What are the top 3 things you should do, and what are the top 3 things you should not
As I said, I've already said the first one. You must have an inflation-adjusted income, right? For your own well-being, your income should grow at a rate higher than the inflation, right? So that is the top first thing. 2, you must have control on your discretionary expenses. Expenses you can or cannot make, right? 3, you must ensure that your money is working hard. That's all. Then we are all fine. There's nothing else to do with personal finance. Actually, that's really the class. There's really nothing else. These are only 3 things to do. As they always say about good habits, you have to do everything consistently. You have to do it with discipline. You have to do it over a period of time for results to come. Just like how a workout or healthy lifestyle or education or all the good things in life are, we have to do it over a period of time. There are no magic bullets, but these are the 3 top things. Yeah. All right. So I will take you quickly through a few slides, right? And then I will take you through the worksheet, which I want to show. Which I want to work with you. All right. Now, when we say strategic personal finance, what is the basis for saying that personal finance should be, what is strategic about personal finance? It's very important for us to understand that all of us care about money because there's an income stream, right? Somebody who is not employed and is looking for income, he won't raise his hand even if he's here. Huh? So that's the first thing to do, right? First thing is to get an income stream of some kind, right? There must be an income stream of some kind. Only then can you have alive personal finance in a sense. But the moment there is an income stream, what happens really is that, what's the first choice? Spend. feel guilty about spending the money we earn. We so deserve it, right? So do not be so taken in by this fact that, oh my God, I have to save for the future. Saving for the future or building assets is the next strategic thing you will do when you believe that there are some spends that don't fit into your income. It's as simple as that. If you're earning a lakh of rupees and you want to live in a house that costs 30 lakhs, you have to do something about it. So as long as you are earning and you are spending within that income and you have no aspirations that require a larger amount of money, you can happily earn and spend and be satisfied with that, right? But for most of us, the truth is that we have aspirations or we have requirements which require a higher amount of money. So in finance, we call these as financial goals, right? Or we are saying that there is something which requires a larger amount of money, and therefore that word strategy, which means we have to be prepared for it. We have to be able to do something to meet that requirement for a large amount of money, which is why all of us create assets, right? Is there any other reasons we have assets? Why should we build assets? Assets are what? They're just an accumulation of our income, right? Instead of spending, we accumulate the income, correct? We accumulate it and it is present in some form, some gold or some property or bond or deposit or share. All of these are assets, correct? Why do you think we have assets?
Cater for some future uncertainty.
So how many here are planning to sell their homes and take a world tour? Can I have a show of hands? People want to see the world, right? You want to see the world in your lifetime, right? It's such a beautiful thing to do. So how many of you are planning to sell the house, sir, to do that? So why are you then buying the third house in the layout that is coming en route to Mysore? The biggest problem is that we build assets mindlessly. We build assets because we think all assets are good. Asset hai, pada rahega. Correct? You ask women who are buying, I happened to go to some of the jewelry shops recently. I'm not a big buyer of jewels. There's a wedding in the family, so I had to go. So there's ease with which people are buying jewelry. It makes me feel, oh my God, it's a different world altogether. Yeah? And when I spoke to some of my relatives who were buying jewelry, I told them, I said, look, the sari costs 3,000 bucks, the handbag costs 4,000 bucks, the footwear costs 2,000 bucks. That's a jewelry costing 2 lakhs. It's an accessory, right? She said, no, really, I'm taking for investment. You ask for that when there is a requirement. How many women are known to have sold off the jewelry for future financial goals? So let's not fool ourselves, So the problem really is this, that when we build assets without a specific purpose in our mind on how we are going to use that asset. So which means, what happens to these assets? These jewelries are passed over to the next generation. The house is passed over. So there is one 2-bedroom flat somewhere in one by-lane of Rajaji Nagar which we are going to leave behind for our child who is studying in the US. He will not even come here for registration, I can tell you that much. Correct? That's why strategic personal finance. Because what happens is, many of us are cautious. We don't spend all our income. We use a part of the income to build assets. Right? But then the point is that these assets are for a future use, which we would have from our own income, right? And whether we have aligned the two, whether our requirements for the future and the assets we have built are in alignment or not, and whether we have clarity on how much are these assets and how they work, right? So that's really the main component. There are 2 side stories to that. What are those 2 side stories? One is, of course, the expense. Talking about young people, it happens. I remember my first princely salary in 1985 was 1,000 bucks. That's where I began. 1,000 rupees. My father distributed sweets in the railway colony. I don't know how many of you are railway children. Anybody here are railway children? No. Railway colony, 4 figure it down is too much. Their pay scale used to be 210, 13, 15, 320, which means you start at 210 rupees basic salary. 50 rupees every year increment. The last highest slab is 320 rupees. This is the kind of salaries. So my father distributed sweets and he said, my daughter has a 4-figure salary. 4-figure lamchaka, yaar. So he told me, one day it will become 5-figure, What do you think? limitation we have with money. We have the inability to imagine the future. We are so taken in by what something is worth today, correct? That we are not able to see what can happen in the future. All this present value and all is there, but we are incapable of thinking about money like that. That's one of the reasons why endowment policies and life back policies sell. Because what do they tell us? Pay 1 lakh for 5 years. Pay 1 lakh a year for 10 years. Wait for 10 years. We will give you 5 lakhs every year. We are saying, wow, this has to be wonderful here. I will show you 4% is the return. We can't see it because standing where we are today, that 5 lakh coming 20 years later looks like a lot of money, you see. So that is the problem, that we can't very clearly see the future, or we can't very clearly estimate, and between today and tomorrow there are a lot of uncertainties, right? That's a big deal. And therefore, which is the reason why spending becomes preferred over saving. Saving is not a strategic decisions are made by the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe, which is not developed in young children, which is why teenage is a very difficult period when the frontal lobe begins to develop, right? When the frontal lobe is developed, what happens? We are able to make decisions which have longer term benefit, which require sacrifice today, but which will give us some longer term benefit. How long do you think the frontal lobe takes to make decisions? 3 seconds. So between that 1/32 of a second in the limbic system, and which is why one of the ways in which psychologists have told us that we can really do this is through habit formation. If we have a habit formation, if we are habitually saving, then we might be able to build it. And therefore, if we have future plans and if we want assets for those future plans, we need to have a habit in which we are able to put aside some amount of our money and build assets, right? So we need to have some amount of expense control in assets. What else? Any pool where you have to put the child where they will allow you to play in, sanitized clay, 1 lakh rupees. Correct? So you're saying they all look like they are beyond our means, right? So our ability to imagine that we can do it, we are not motivated, so we find it difficult. But there is also another way of doing this, which is what? We can use other people's money, right? There are a set of people who are saving diligently, putting their money in the bank. Bank will happily lend it to us. We can borrow their money and build assets. Some of the largest asset builders in the world don't use their money. They're smart enough to use somebody else's money. Is that right? So how many of you here have used your own money and built your own house with your own hands? See? Many times, many big assets are, we really can't build them. That is really the 4 components, which is to say, the first thing that I want you to remember is when you are saying strategic personal finance, it is strategic because you make decisions. No? You have to make long-term. When we say strategic, it is like what? It is like saying that my team will have both batsmen and bowlers. Correct? That I have decided to play cricket. How many batsmen will be there will depend on the pitch. Correct? So to have a strategic view is to say that I have decided to play cricket. I will ensure that I put a team in which there is a wicket keeper. I won't go in without a wicket keeper being present. So when I say strategic finance, I am only saying that have you put the building blocks in place? For example, oh God, this is moved at it. Because I tend to spend too much time, so I said, let me. Alright? The first set of questions are these, sir. How steady is your income and is it growing? How long will it last? Will it need further funding? Why are these strategic questions? He asked me a question, what's strategic about it? I'm telling you, why are these strategic questions? So we know of film stars, right? Who earned very well and who died alone and penniless. Why did it happen? And we all say, oh, they did not save. The problem was here. What is the problem? How much income you will earn, your income is not steady. How much income you will earn will depend on whether your film was a hit or not. Is that right? And it won't last very long. One Mr. Bachchan is an exception. But otherwise, people don't work forever. Right? You work for a small period of time. And